The chill in the air wrapped around me like a damp blanket as I stepped into the old store, the once vibrant sign now faded and peeling. It had been years since anyone had dared to enter, but curiosity and a sense of adventure led me to this forsaken place. The door creaked ominously behind me, sealing me in with the lingering scent of decay and dust. As I ventured deeper, the floorboards groaned under my weight, each step echoing like a warning. The aisles, lined with forgotten merchandise, seemed to shift and sway in the dim light, casting unsettling shadows that danced across the walls. I felt eyes on me, watchful and malevolent. Suddenly, a cold breeze whipped through the store, extinguishing my flashlight. I fumbled to turn it back on, my heart racing. The beam flickered back to life, revealing a figure at the far end of the aisle, a woman in tattered clothing, her face obscured by tangled hair. I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. She was staring directly at me, her eyes hollow and filled with an anguish that sent shivers down my spine. I instinctively took a step back, but the floor beneath me seemed to lurch. The shelves around me rattled, and I could hear the distant sound of glass shattering. The woman took a step forward, and I could feel an overwhelming dread wash over me. My mind raced. Who was she? What had happened here? The store seemed alive, the air thick with an unseen energy. I turned to run, but the path I had taken was now a twisted maze of aisles, each corner leading me deeper into the store's dark heart. I could hear whispers echoing around me, unintelligible yet laced with a desperate urgency. I was shocked when I spotted the woman again, closer this time, her expression twisted in torment. I couldn't escape. Every turn led me back to her. It felt as if the very walls were closing in, trapping me in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. In a final attempt to flee, I charged forward, my breath ragged and loud in my ears. The woman reached out, her fingers brushing against my arm like ice. I screamed, stumbling away, and the store erupted into chaos. Shelves toppled, lights flickered violently, and a deafening crash reverberated around me. I burst through the front door, gasping for air, the outside world a stark contrast to the malevolent darkness I had just escaped. I looked back, half expecting to see her standing in the doorway, but the store was still, an eerie silence enveloping it. For days, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I could hear whispers in the corners of my mind and see fleeting shadows in my periphery. The abandoned store had reached out and touched me, and I was left with a chilling reminder that some spirits don't rest easy. They linger, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to haunt. The horror of dead night. It was a night like no other. A thick, oppressive silence enveloped my home, broken only by the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. I had always dismissed tales of the supernatural, confident in my skepticism. But as I lay in bed, a creeping unease slithered through me, making the hairs on my arms stand on end. The lights flickered and then plunged the room into darkness. I fumbled for my phone, the faint glow casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. That's when I noticed it, a flicker of movement at the edge of my vision. My breath hitched as I turned to look, but there was nothing there, just darkness pressing in on me. The air felt charged, almost alive, and a chill washed over me. I sat up, heart racing when I saw it. A shadow, darker than the night itself, shifting just beyond my line of sight. It was a formless mass, undulating like smoke, lurking in the corners of the room. Panic gripped me, but I couldn't look away. The temperature dropped further, and I felt an oppressive weight settling in the air. The shadow moved closer, weaving through the furniture with an unsettling grace. I could sense it, a presence that was both ominous and curious, observing me from the darkness. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the living room, reverberating through the silence. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized I was alone in the house. I rose to my feet, adrenaline coursing through my veins, and in that moment, the shadow coalesced, expanding, as if reacting to my fear. I took a hesitant step back, feeling the wall against my back. The shadow flickered, contorting into vague shapes, each one more terrifying than the last. It felt like it was trying to communicate, but I could only feel the weight of its despair pressing down on me. With a surge of instinct, I turned and bolted down the hallway, the darkness closing in around me. Behind me, the shadow swirled, almost chasing, as if it thrived on my fear. I reached for the door, throwing it open and stepping into the cool night air. But even outside, the sensation of being watched lingered. The shadow was no longer confined to the walls of my home. It had followed me, a silent specter wrapped in darkness. I stood there, heart racing, knowing I had glimpsed something beyond my understanding. Each night thereafter, I could feel its presence, lurking just beyond the edges of my perception. The shadows in my home grew thicker, and the whispers of the unseen echoed in my mind, reminding me that some entities are bound to the living world, hungry for something I couldn't quite grasp. And as the darkness deepened each evening, I understood that I would never again take the night for granted.
It started as a simple trip to my grandmother's old house, a place steeped in stories and memories. But as I stepped through the creaking door, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. Something was waiting, hidden in the shadows, and I was about to awaken it. The house loomed before me, its faded paint peeling like the skin of a forgotten memory. Dust motes floated in the slanted beams of light that pierced through grimy windows. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and stale air, making every breath feel heavy. The floorboards groaned underfoot, and the wallpaper, once vibrant, now hung in tatters, revealing the bare bones of the house beneath. As night fell, I lit a few candles, their flickering flames casting long shadows that twisted and turned across the walls. Every creak and groan of the house echoed, amplifying the silence. I heard faint whispers, no words, just an unsettling chorus that seemed to rise and fall like a tide. It was disorienting, like being surrounded by voices that knew secrets I could not grasp. I tried to shake it off, focusing on the family photo album I'd found, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. I remembered my grandmother's stories about the house, tales of lost spirits and strange occurrences. They just wanted to be remembered, she'd said, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. As I flipped through the album, an image caught my eye. A photo of my grandmother as a child, standing with a girl I didn't recognize. There was something wrong with the girl. Her eyes seemed too dark, too knowing. The moment I touched the photo, a cold breeze swept through the room, extinguishing my candles and plunging me into darkness. Heart racing, I fumbled for my phone, the light flickering weakly in the oppressive black. I turned to find the girl from the photo standing in the corner, her dark eyes fixed on me, an eerie smile playing on her lips. The whispers intensified, wrapping around me like a shroud. I realized, in that moment, I was not alone. The house had drawn me in, just as it had claimed my grandmother's memories. As the girl stepped closer, the whispers coalesced into a single, chilling thought. You will remember. And just like that, the house welcomed me into its dark embrace, trapping me among the echoes of the forgotten.